Right now, this topic is really relevant to me and my business because we just had to let a key employee in our construction company go. So today, we're going to dive into this topic and I'm going to give you some strategies to be able to do that with your team so you can hold your team accountable as you grow. Honestly, he stayed around a little bit too long because we weren't constantly monitoring the KPIs and the metrics and really watching over his shoulder to make sure that this employee was being successful in our organization. So since his departure, I've been looking back and trying to find those places and what information could I have had to know if we were on the right track or if he was being successful still after he had been here, 5 or 6 years as a member of our organization. Let's jump into why this is such an important topic. As you hire people and set expectations and things for them to do and be and have and productivity metrics and all of that for your business, for the most part, employees are going to want to be successful since they took that job with you. They're going to want to jump through the hoops. They're going to want to perform well. And as long as you set the stage right for them to do that, for the most part, most employees are going to. But it's easy for them to slip back into their old ways or how they acted with past employees, or to just possibly get bored or disconnected from your business. You need to have metrics in place and processes in place so that you can hold the standard, hold the line for all of your employees so that they can keep performing at the level you need them to in your business. So what are some of the KPIs you can use to measure your employees' performance? Well, in my case, I had a project manager. I could be looking at his timeline variance. If we have established timelines for projects, we should be reviewing each week what the variance is on that. How far behind or how far ahead are we? We can also be looking at a budget report on all of the projects that he's managing. So are we on pace to hit the budget? Are we over or under budget? And why? It gives a chance on a weekly basis for us to meet and follow up and see if that employee's hitting their metrics correctly. We could also look at customer satisfaction scores or blind surveys that we send out to our past clients, current clients, to really check in and see how the project manager's doing on managing that project. You could also do that same survey with subcontractors and vendors that employee is having to deal with. Having those KPIs could give you quick red flags or quick gut checks to see the performance of that employee and know if you need to address anything in a one-on-one meeting. I want to give you 3 practical strategies today for holding your employees accountable. Number 1 is lead by example. And this one might be a little painful for you contractors out there trying to grow your organization, but you really do need to set the standard with yourself and your own actions and hold yourself accountable. It's really hard to hold others accountable when they're just watching you slip and slide all over the place and not live up to the standard that you're setting for them. This includes being on time for meetings, being productive with your time at the office, and doing all the things that you've agreed that you're going to do as the leader of that organization. You really have to master the lead by example part and really set that standard before you can even start holding employees accountable. And if you do this, a lot of them are going to automatically fall in line because the leader is in such a strong place pulling them forward that a lot of people are either going to follow that example or they're going to abandon ship quick because the culture of the company is going to shift rapidly and they're not going to be able to stay inside that realm if they're not leading themselves behind you. Tip number 2 is to have regular check-ins. It's important as a leader of an organization that you have regular one-on-one meetings with all of your direct reports. Honestly, this should be done at least monthly. And as your business grows and you're so busy, this is something that is really easy to get slack on. I'm guilty of that over the last year. Like this employee that I had to let go, I could have been having more regular meetings with him to help hold him accountable to hitting the marks and the benchmarks that we had set for his position. At a minimum, you should probably be doing once a quarter, try to hit once a month, and then there may be some important positions that are in your direct report that you need to meet with on a more frequent basis, on a one-on-one basis. There may be other direct reports that you need to meet with more frequently, but for the most part, monthly or quarterly should be an effective strategy for your organization. You can also have team leads meet one-on-one with their direct reports as well, and for them to be the leader of that pod. Tip number 3 for helping hold your employees accountable is to empower your team members to own their position and to hold each other accountable. Building a culture around accountability is going to be super beneficial as you scale and grow your company. You're not going to be able to watch the day-to-day operations of all the crew members, all the sales guys, and all of that. So we're going to have individual leaders empowered to hold the people under them accountable, and then all your team members ready to hold each other accountable to your core values, to the standards you set in your organization. Your employees, especially your direct reports, should even be empowered to hold you as a leader accountable. Don't shy away from that kind of feedback, because you need to know where you're missing the mark so that you can continue to lead by example. Even with all of these steps in place and processes built around everyone holding each other accountable and you having regular one-on-one meetings, you're still going to have to address accountability issues as people slip and fall behind. If you have the KPIs in place and you see something slipping, it's time to schedule an extra one-on-one meeting. At that meeting, that's the place to sit down and figure out what's going on. See if there's some underlying personal issue leading to that slip in performance. At that time, you can implement a performance improvement plan or a plan of action that both parties agree to get that member of your team back on track. Usually this can be done. I do them like a 30, 60, 90 plan that has metrics that they need to be meeting to get back on track over a 30, 60, 90 day period. And then let them know that there's consequences to not following that performance improvement plan that could lead to termination from your company, a shift to a different position, and possibly a lower pay structure because they're not performing and hitting the metrics that need to be met in your company. Don't hesitate when it's time to address these issues and to hold your employees accountable. Anytime you push it off and say, nah, not right now, it's just going to get worse. It never gets better, and I can tell you that from experience. Every time that I've known I needed to talk to someone and hesitated, it's always got worse. That person often knows that they're in the wrong and that they're kind of taking advantage of the situation and not performing correctly. And you really need to just get in there, rip that Band-Aid off, and let them know that they got to get on a performance improvement plan or get out of your company. It's your responsibility as a leader to hold your team members accountable to that and set the standard for your organization that you're not going to tolerate subpar performance when everyone's agreed that that's the threshold we have to be at. This is super important when it comes to your core values and holding that as a standard in your company. So to recap this video, we went over how to hold employees accountable. It started with why this is so important. We talked about some KPIs and used a specific project manager example. And then we went into 3 strategies that I think you should use to help hold your team accountable. That included holding yourself accountable, leading by example, having regular check-ins with your employees, and empowering them to take ownership of their position and role. And then we finished the video by talking about how to address accountability issues when they inevitably pop up. I speak from so much experience when I tell you that this topic is so important for your organization's success. You're going to have to early on build a system to hold all of your employees accountable and set the standard and stage for success in your company. By building that as a standardized playing field, it's going to be a lot easier to, hire slow, fire fast, and make pivots and make decisions based on your core values and the standards that you set that you've decided that you're going to hold all your employees accountable to. You can actually make a lot of those standards part of their employment contract to make it even easier to terminate employees when they're not able to hold up the standards that you've set and that they've agreed to hold. If you're struggling to hold your employees accountable and build a process around that, please reach out to me. I'd love to set up a strategy call with you. There'll be a link in the description of this YouTube video that you can sign up for a 30-minute call with me so that we can build a strategy for you to hold your employees accountable. Also, as we come into the end of 2023, I'm looking for 5 more clients to jump into my coaching program. It's one-on-one coaching with me. You get full access to me, Slack channel, course content, and so much more. The value there is almost infinite and will set you up for success in 2024. If you think you might be interested in one-on-one coaching, click the link in the description to set up a strategy call with me so that we can see if we're a good fit to work together in 2024.